Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Leo energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Leo energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy. We all have free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And some people could be battling within themselves. In the top row, they might like to move forward in life a little differently, but the bottom row can just represent our comfort zone, and we have a hard time kind of stepping out of our comfort zone, and we have habits and patterns and jobs and friendships and relationships, and maybe it would affect some of those things, and maybe there's other people in our life who wouldn't like it if we lived our life a little differently, change some of our habits, or didn't want to participate in certain activities, and living life the way we've been living it. So some people could be struggling within themselves, but there's always going to be people in the world who have worked through debating within themselves, and they are moving forward in life differently, or starting to move forward in life a little differently, and facing their fears about doing that, and kind of have let go of an old way of living life, or viewing themselves, and they aren't the same person that they were before. And when some people move forward in life a little differently, some other people aren't ready. We're all ready to move forward at different times. We'll all, kind of, until we get tired of a certain phase of life, or living life, or viewing life, we'll keep doing it. And sometimes, it's difficult because we might have friends or family members or people we were in a relationship with who we wanted them to move forward with us. But the truth sets us free. We have to work through the things that kind of manipulate us, if it's fear, insecurity, or pride, or ego, or something that stops us from moving forward in life differently. And we can't make other people, just like, it's hard to view life differently when that's not how you view life. That's why we were living life the way we live life. It's kind of a process, and it can take years and decades. And for some people, they are always comfortable living life, and they could, some people are moving forward with people who are loving and encouraging to them and supportive, and they're continually moving, their comfort zone is a very loving and encouraging environment, so they're going to keep living their life the way they live it. There's no need or call to move forward in life differently. So, Leo energy, fire sign energy, are we being more authentic? Are we being loving and encouraging to ourselves, loving and encouraging to others? Or in shadowy Leo energy, are we operating more from our ego? So, or our defensiveness, or anything like that. So, we all tap into Leo energy. This might be something that people who are a Leo sun sign or have significant Leo placements, that they might struggle with some of these issues right now more than people who aren't a Leo sun sign or have significant Leo placements. But we all are affected by it, because we all have to choose between operating more from our defensive, egoic, or selfish, or immature nature, or our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and dealing with the truth of situations. So, the reason for the top rose reading is the plants card, which could be more about connecting in with your more authentic nature than your more egoic nature, growing yourself, kind of growing to your full potential. The reason for the bottom rose reading is the contracts card, which generally I would think of it as Libra, but now it's kind of making me think of Taurus also, because Taurus energy within all of us kind of dictates how we view life. And some people have a certain way of viewing life, and they're not going to view life any differently. And with it also reminding me of Libra energy, which Libra energy, kind of represented by the scales of justice, could just be what we think is just and fair. And some people in a more shadowy Libra Taurus energy that they harness within themselves, regardless of what zodiac sign they are, they could be more not willing to be more their authentic self in the world. And they could have been taught not to let their more authentic nature out in the world. you know? Maybe making your life more about the world, and it is more about your ego and your image and your status, and that's the most important thing. You living your more authentic truth. No. And other people work through all those different things in the world and in their head. It's like, I'm going to go live my authentic life. And in high vibe, it's like, I want to treat other people the way I want to be treated. I'm going to treat people in a just and fair and act with character and integrity and love. But I'm also going to live my authentic life, not wanting to hurt anyone, offering people peace and love to work together with me. But I'm going to live my authentic truth, and I am motivated and inspired to kind of grow to my full potential. And, shadowy energy at the big picture represented by the devil is all these things that restrict us and manipulate us and imprison us. High vibe energy represented by God are being free to live our authentic truth and to grow to our full potential and not let our fear and our insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and other people in our life try to stop us from being more independent. Is high vibe energy. So maybe let's go look at the bottom row first. We have 2 cards not showing themselves right here. And then we have the listening card. And then we have family and we have relocation. And the listening card is kind of making me think that, Taurus is earth sign energy and Libra is air sign energy. Is that more what we listen to? Living more from our mind than our heart, what the world tells us, what other people in our life tell us. We have the free will to listen. And this is a feminine figure, which can be about how we think and feel for people. Just which one is the one that we more listen to? Which one is more aligned with our nature? We live in a world of duality where people have free will. And some people's truth is they are more about making their life more about the world. They might not think there is any higher truth or justice to aspire to. We appeared on the planet or the world in our area of the world tells us we should live our life like this and do that. And that can be their truth. And that's what kind of drives and motivates them in their fire sign energy. And other people could have done that for the first 30, 40 years of our life. We're pretty caught up in the world. And other people kind of were caught up in it too. But eventually some people, with the family card, it can be where we're kind of living our life more like other people live their life, or how our parents live their life, or trying to make our life look like other people's life. And eventually maybe some people did some work within themselves that some other people didn't. And sometimes we can get in more mismatched relationships where with these cards not showing themselves, that we kind of didn't realize that we harness those energies differently, that we have these different ways of viewing life than some of the other people in our life. We're all kind of manipulated by the world and our ego and our fear and all those things, right? And we all, in the family card, kind of want to be in friendships and relationships with people, but how much some people can let that want for those things. And I view the relocation card as Sagittarius energy, which is also fire sign energy. For some people, it is more that those things drive and motivate them. But in high vibe, the family card could be that, I do want some of these things in my life and people, but I also have my authentic truth and am my own individual. And I want it to be a balance. That's high vibe energy. And high vibe Libra is that it's a balance. I am my own individual. Do I want to be in friendships and relationships? But yes. But should I have to sacrifice my truth? And some people will, because they want maybe a certain status or image. They want to be in a relationship with certain people. They could be more codependent. And if those people aren't willing to move forward and be more independent or more authentic or heal and grow, mature themselves, well, then they're not going to either. And they're going to keep moving forward with those people because, those people, it might be kind of limiting and restricting and confining to a degree. But until they're ready to be more independent and stand up for themselves, that I should be respected as my own individual. I don't want to have to, that in order to get along and for you to move forward with me, that it has to be where I can't go again from high vibe energy. I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm not acting awful in the world. I just have my own unique interest and things and people that I enjoy, which might be different than what you enjoy or what you want to spend your time in. And my truth might be a little different than your truth, but can't we all get along? I mean, we all know people in our life that are very different from us. We work with them. We have brothers and sisters and children and parents and community members and neighborhood people. We're all different, but we can all get along if we respect that, so long as people are working together cooperatively, basically treating other people the way they like to be treated, we accept that everybody is kind of, oh, look, they really like to go do that. Yeah, I don't really care to go do that. So they go do that and I don't go do that with them. And I like to go do this and they don't like it. And I might be more immature. I might be more stubborn. I might be more bossy. I might be more controlling. They might be more of a free spirit. I might be more about my ego and image. They're not. And we just accept that people are where they're at and who they are. And it's not a problem. But some people, it is more of a problem for them if people don't, especially if they're going to be part of their family, or, we all kind of like to hang out with people and spend more of our time, energy, and effort with people who kind of seem to enjoy the same things we do, kind of maybe have a certain way of viewing life and philosophy of life. But if some people are more in shadowy energy, more about conforming to the world, shadowy Sagittarius can be either that those are more of the things they're fired up by, which can be indulging in things to make themselves feel better, to excess, making things more about the ego or the image or the status at the expense of living their more authentic life. And if they live their life like that, they only want to be around other people who live their life like that, because they could like to view themselves, and in a lot of ways in the world, Leo energy, also represented by the sun, can be that people shine very brightly in the world in a lot of ways, look very victorious and successful in a lot of ways, but they could be, again, more and they view themselves, and they could be very stable and grounded, have a certain public persona, and people view them very positively, and they could view themselves very positively. And rightly they should, right? But maybe they're not more independent, not more authentic, a little maybe more superficial and shallow, and kind of caught up more in themselves and their ego and the image, and that is kind of more what defines them. Well, if they get around people who are more authentic, like that also, but they're not as manipulated by their ego or their fear or conforming, and you have to act like this and you have to dress like this and you talk to those people and not those people. And it's someone who, in ways they could like, but it does kind of illuminate that we are a little bit more restrictive, maybe not kind of as independent of our ego in the world as some other people. And then they can not like that it kind of illuminates that they might harness this energy in a more shadowy way. And then they can just want those people to leave or move away from those people and just move forward with the people who do view life the way they view it. I don't want someone who is more authentic, is more authentically who they say they are, is more loving and encouraging. I might be a loving and encouraging person, but I might be a loving and encouraging person because I want people to be in a relationship with me, but the intention is it's more about me. I want to be in a relationship. I'm going to be loving and encouraging to you, not because I'm naturally maybe more of a loving and encouraging person, but to get you to move forward in a relationship with me. And it might be more about either to indulge myself in a relationship. And as long as you think I'm a loving and encouraging person, you'll move forward with me. But eventually you might find out I'm maybe kind of stubborn or kind of immature or more about myself or more about my ego and my image. And it's not really being more authentic where it is to work together with people because you authentically are a loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person to want to get along with them because you love them. Shadowy energy can be, I have an ulterior purpose, and it's a little bit more about them. To indulge them, maybe they can have ways of viewing life that they think are just and fair, ways of viewing themselves, think other people, they just things that they think are just and fair. And other people could be like, I don't really think that's just and fair. You might be kind of immature. You might be more codependent. You might let your friends or your family or the world or your ego or your immature nature kind of more dictate your life. And of course, because you indulge in that or indulge those things or those people, you justify it in your head and you think it's just and fair. And then if other people get in a relationship with you, like they should let those things or those people be kind of like a third party in your relationship and manipulate you also. If they think it's just and fair, you should think it's just and fair. And other people are like, but those things and those people don't manipulate me like that. And if I'm going to be in a relationship with people, I want the third party to be truth and love and justice and fairness and independent and character and integrity and being inspired to grow to your full potential. And some other people are like, well, no, we should do this. And this is good for our ego and our image. And you should want this too. This is what we think is just and fair. So sometimes, and some people could be in a relationship and workplaces like that. We're kind of realizing or did realize that they harness these two energies differently. Paranoia and hiking. So the paranoia can be where people get more caught up in their head and they could have fears and insecurities about their image and their status and want to look like they've moved on, want to look like they're like a shining star in the world and have what other people have in the world. But because of their fear, that could be more of what they listen to, or that the most important thing is to have this certain status or image in the world. And then that's kind of more what they invest in. The hiking card reminds me of Virgo energy. And that can kind of be their nature. And maybe because of a world of duality and free will, who knows, maybe when people came to Earth, it was kind of asked, do you want to be more of a worldly focused person? Because we need people in the world to represent that in order for people to have free will. And some people are like, yeah, that'll be my truth. I'll be more about the world. And then kind of in their software programming to be more about the world. And other people, do you want to be more about hope and faith and belief and love? Because we need to give people choice. We need different people to represent different aspects. And some people said, yeah, I'll do the hope and faith and belief and love. And it's like, okay, well then we can get in relationships with each other and we're kind of mismatched. But because we forget all that possibly, if that's a scenario. It can take time to get to know people. And we all, could have had one situation that didn't work out. We want to be in friendship or relationship or go get a new job. And we can all listen more to our head. We can all be trying to be more practical, more grounded. But the whole thing is we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. And some people just like other people can get caught up in their head and have their fears and insecurities, but those people harness a more high vibrational Virgo energy within themselves where they do work to work through those things. They temper themselves maybe in the listening card, calm themselves down, kind of connect in with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature and deal with the truth of things that get them up in their head so that then in high vibe, the family card kind of reminds me of the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups. High vibe energy is about being balanced. Do I have my own shadowy ways of being or thinking or feeling that I can get caught up in? Yes, but I have free will to offer truth and love and compassion and empathy to myself for my own immature ways of thinking and being in my life that have maybe run my life off into the ditch, and other people I've dealt with that are like that. And I put in work and effort to maintain balance within myself, to keep harnessing high vibe Sagittarius, to learn lessons in life and learn from those life experiences instead of wanting to reject the truth and just think I can just move on. I don't have to deal with it. I'm going to lock that up, put it in a corner of my brain. If I was hurt, if I was immature, things about me and things about others, I don't want to deal with the truth of it. And I'm just going to lock it up and put it away. Well, it keeps influencing them, because if you don't learn the lessons you're meant to learn from it, you're still moving forward motivated and inspired. And I think we're drawn and attracted to certain people because we have lessons to learn from them, valuable life lessons. Are all of those people meant to stay in our life forever? No, but we have to see the truth that not everybody is just and fair. Not everyone acts with character and integrity. Not everybody's motivated and inspired by love. That's a danger zone. They get hurt doing that. And some people are like, I'm not doing that. That is not my truth. I will be in a relationship with you. I will move forward with you in a relationship. Will I do a more deep, meaningful relationship? No, I could get hurt doing that. So what makes me feel balanced and I have decided is just and fair is that I will work maybe cooperatively with people to a degree, and I will, to a degree, be loving and encouraging to them, but I'm never going to let my more vulnerable, authentic nature outplay in the world. And then people can find that to be the case, and it does feel like you're in a relationship with someone who keeps their more authentic nature under lock and key, and you're kind of in a relationship with their more defensive, egoic nature. And when some people free themselves from things that manipulated them, and they're more balanced within themselves, they've kind of wrapped their brain around why some of their fears, their insecurities, their self-limiting beliefs, their more codependent energy, their past pain and heartbreak. We are the ones who hold the key to freeing ourselves from things that manipulate us. And does it help to have loving and encouraging and supportive people in your life? Yes. And then when we have loving and encouraging and supportive people in our life, do we do that work within ourselves to work through those issues? Some people do, and some people don't, because that's not their truth. Some people's truth is, I might have these issues, but I don't plan to deal with them, and I thought you were someone who wouldn't deal with those issues either. That let's just get in a relationship and let's move forward. Let's not deal with our past pain and heartbreak and our fears and our insecurities or our lack mentality or our guilt or shame of more immature whatever things we could have done in our life. Let's just ignore all that. That's operating from pride and ego. And let's just move forward. Let's just keep those things under lock and key. And let's just keep doing this. Well, if you get in a more mismatched relationship, someone was interested in doing the work to look at those issues and they freed themselves from them. And the other people have no intention of doing that work and freeing themselves from those things. And then it kind of gets to be where, we're different. We could have been kind of in a lot of ways in different degrees of our issues, but more caught up in the world, more caught up in wanting to be in a relationship, more caught up in wanting to manifest these certain things in the world. And then we could get to be where in our fire sign energy, we become more inspired to make our life more than just about those things that in that first 30, 40 years of our life that we could have really been motivated and inspired to make our life about. And then we're ready to kind of move forward to the next phase of life. And then we could realize that the people in our life want to keep staying in a way of living life and viewing life, and they might not want to give up anything, and you're going, just like going from age 15 to 18, you have to see the truth of some things that you need to let go of if you're going to move forward in life differently. And some of the people in our life, they're like, I'm happy with the way things are. There's nothing I want to change. I want to keep doing this. And other people feel like it's limiting and restricting and confining and where they can't live their more authentic life. And sometimes that's when, you kind of want to move away from them and they kind of want to move away from you because they want to be in relationships with people who still view life a certain way and live life a certain way. And you might not view life that way anymore or want to live your life that way anymore. And it's not like you're asking people to completely change. Virgo energy is about taking these slow, steady steps. And we can do that with people, and it can work out for a long time, but then we could get to where the next thing to deal with is at a core foundational level of our philosophy of life, of how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others, what we view as just and fair. And we're either kind of a little bit more about ourselves and the world, or we're a little bit more about having hope and faith and belief in love and being inspired by love and to get out of our more worldly egoic nature to live our more authentic truth. And that can be when a relationship ends. That is kind of everything else I was willing to work with and compromise on, but when it gets down to a core foundational truth of what I think is a major core philosophy that of how I view life, it's different. And so some people already got out of those jobs, friendships, or relationship, and they were ready to give birth to something new, listening maybe more to their creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature that I don't feel like I can grow to my full potential here, or maybe people aren't encouraging of me investing in High Vibe Virgo, is that we've all been given our own unique talents, skills, and interests, and talents that maybe before we weren't willing to pursue because maybe we didn't know if we could make money at it. Sometimes people get in career fields they don't really want to be in, right? And then later in life, I do want to go pursue that career interest because now I might have the stability and security, and I want to do something that I don't know if it's going to make money or not. You have to have some hope and faith and belief that high vibe energy works with you to help you manifest your dreams instead of maybe doing what more seems practical and logical. And when some people want to do that, some other people are like, what? You're not going to do that career field? What about our status and our ego and our image? And what about the amount of money we're going to have? And, other people could get caught up in their head that I'm not going to have as much money or status or image, or we won't be able to do those things. And those things are what I really liked, or I really, is important to me. And then they don't really want to invest in that. But from a more shadowy perspective, there are people who want to be in a relationship, and it is kind of more about them and their ego and their image. And they could have some things that kind of manipulate them that they don't want to deal with. And then when they could get in relationships with other people, they're always paranoid that the other people are going to do this inner work and they're going to want to move forward in life differently, because some of these people do not want to. They have a way of living life that they want it to be like that, but you can see where that's a little selfish. If you're going to work together with other people, those people have their truth and their dreams, and how, you're supposed to work cooperatively. Well, I kind of viewed life like this, and this was my long-term dream and how I thought things were going to play out. And the other person's like, well, I had my dream and I had my idea of how I kind of want. And you work cooperatively to, it's kind of like giving birth to something new. And the other people are like, yeah, but I don't like to do that. I like to do this. And they could think when people get in a relationship with them that all the things that they think are just and fair and how you should live your life, initially people are willing to get to know people. And if a lot of those things you have in common, they're willing to stay engaged and in the relationship. But it's like they don't ever want people to work through issues to shed an old layer of themselves to want to ever move forward in life differently, because they don't want to. And eventually people who get in relationships with people are like that have to work through the fact that they have to deal with their own fears of leaving that job, friendship, or relationship. And even though they could have love for those people and would have liked to move forward with those people, they're not free to live their more authentic life. And it could get to a point in a relationship where they could feel like, because they're in that job or in that relationship, that they've kind of can use that to try to manipulate people. Because in our more worldly nature, we all do want these things. Well, I know you want to be in a friendship. I know you want to be in a relationship. I know you want a job. I know we did create or manifest this. And I think I can use that to manipulate you. Well, that's not love. People who love you don't decide, well, now that I think I've gotten you in something, that now I can be more immature or manipulative or prideful or egotistical. And maybe initially they weren't showing that that was their truth, and they were creating an illusion about the type of person they were. But then once they get someone to move forward with them and kind of lock them down in something, oh, well, then they can let their more shadowy, more immature nature. You're either being authentic when you're getting in a relationship with people, or you're trying to create an illusion about the type of person you are so they'll get in a relationship with you. But it's not really the truth of who they are. And eventually, as people get to know people, eventually they might come to see the truth that you live more from your mind than your heart. You're more about yourself. You're more about codependent on other things or people. And it's not love, and having hope and faith and belief in yourself and in love isn't your truth. So other people work through it. Then we have the games, the rest, the criticism, the competition, the stress, the career change, and the children. So it's not easy to work through those issues and be more independent. Other people aren't going to like it. Your own shadow nature isn't going to like it. Your own shadow nature is going to be trying to get you to go back and do things the way you were doing it, because your own shadow nature doesn't want to give birth to anything new. And if you were more immature or self-indulgent, it seemed like we had these things of the world, we should make our life more about these things of the world. So in the games card, the rest card, and the criticism And the competition card, we have male and female. And we all have that nature within ourselves. The masculine energies can represent kind of more how we present ourselves to the world and in our more worldly egoic nature, and then in our more emotional, creative, inspired nature, or our more harsh, critical inner voice. It's trying to get balance within ourselves, to get balance that I want to go out in the world and have that be authentically who I am. I don't want to wear a false mask. And in order to do that, I have to, this one looks like a female and this one looks like a male. And so kind of emotionally nurturing our more worldly nature that maybe has some growing up to do, to be more willing to take action in our life, being more balanced within ourselves, loving and believing in ourselves. We might have to tell our own more shadowy, egoic nature that, it's not all about you. And there are these things in the world that make practical, logical sense, but then our more loving nature could tell us that, we did it that way and it didn't work out the way we wanted. So we do this debate within ourselves, and then we can end up kind of having these different relationship dynamics with different people. We could have some people that we have a more balanced relationship with. We could have other people in our life that are loving and nurturing to us and that we more play that more loving and nurturing role. And we want to be in relationships where there is that give and take. We extend grace to people, where sometimes they're the people who need more loving and encouragement. Sometimes we're the person who needs more loving and encouragement. We all have to be willing to deal with the truth and see where we're being more bossy or controlling or think it should be more about me getting the loving and encouragement more so than you. And it's like, that's not fair. So we struggle within ourselves, and we might have to, even sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. I'm kind of thinking with this feminine figure standing on a block. Our more worldly egoic nature might want to be running our life more, but our more emotionally intuitive nature is, I'm not going to let my more egoic nature run my life anymore. My egoic nature did run my life, and my more loving, hopeful, believing nature kind of had to sit in the back seat. Well, my more loving, intuitive nature, whether I'm male or female, is getting in the driver's seat of my life. And my more egoic nature and shadow nature, and that tries to boss and control me within myself, is going to have to sit in the back seat. And it's really stressful. Working through all of that. And so the stress card is kind of making me think of the 7 and 8 of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. We struggle within ourselves because Aquarius energy, also represented by the Star card. I had this dream and I wanted things to work out like that. I didn't know I was going to have to go through all of this. We can all be mad and we go through being angry. We wish other people would maybe quit being, if they're more immature, if they're more materialistic, if they're more codependent, if they're more stubborn, that. But the whole thing is, we can't change other people. And so with this card also reminding me of the 8 of Swords, the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Swords, is Gemini energy, which is about our dualistic nature and the fact that in some people's free will, they have made the free will choice to make their life either more about, I don't want to heal and grow and mature, I don't want to make my life about other than the world, or more about me, and we have to accept the truth of it. And then the 8 and the 9 and the 10 can be where, maybe in the 7 of Swords, we had this dream. We were working with other people, but we kind of learned these different lessons from people in our life. Some people in our life could have been much more just and fair and balanced with us, and they were a much more just and fair and balanced person also. But But we all have some lessons to learn. We all have some healing and growing and maturing and seeing how some people in our life wanted us to play that role in our life. Like, I want you codependent on me and you should look to me, like make me kind of God in your life, or I like a more codependent relationship, or I want you to make it more about me. And it's like, no, I don't want that. We can get in relationships with people who are more have a more harsh, critical inner voice. Then eventually their more harsh, critical inner voice, like, I'm not the only one going to have to put up with this shit. It's going to come out, and I'm going to be harsh and critical of you, and you didn't know they were even that type of person. And then we can be in relationships with people who are much more competitive. You know, I'm better at this than you, and it's kind of how they build their self-esteem, is kind of wanting to build, instead of, I have my own unique talent, skills, and interests. There's a lot of people that are better at a lot of things than me, and that's okay. I work with mine, and I do the best that I can to flourish in my own way. But other people really can have a problem when other people are doing growing or maturing or more bold or brave or confident, have more money or status or clout. It's like, I guess if I was that type of person that really drove and motivated me, maybe I put more work and effort, but maybe some of those things don't drive and motivate me like it drives and motivates that person. Or that's just not my natural personality, maybe to be more outgoing with everybody. And I accept it. But other people really can bother them, right? And so, and it can really stress them out. And so we could know people that we would like, that we do think are more high vibrational, but, even in high vibrational, there's a spectrum of maybe having learned some lessons and working through some shadowy aspects and some fears and insecurities. And I think eventually high vibe people, because they've learned all these lessons from all these different people in the world, it really does get them to decide, I think, to align with their more high vibrational nature, operating from a foundation of hope and faith and belief and love. And the Children card reminds me of the Six of Cups, which can talk about coming into balance, about all these different experiences in our life. And I just accept that I have known all these different people in my life, and I'm currently working with all these different types of people in the world. And everybody's somewhere on the spectrum of learning different lessons. And I see the truth of it. Some people I definitely know, maybe with these people, I'm going to run away from them. They listen to something emotionally that surrounded by this paranoia and the world. No, that's not my truth. I'm definitely going to keep my distance from those people and move away from them. The other people, can I work with them? Are they a little more, got their own little quirks? Yeah. And just kind of in Aquarius energy of looking at life from a higher perspective, seeing the truth that some people are more all about themselves, need to be, and shadowy Leo, need to be the center of attention, want it to be all about them, want to control and manipulate people, want people to indulge them in their more immature behavior. Yeah, no, I'm running away from you people and keeping my far distance from you, because I've already learned lessons from people like that in the world. You are too far off on the other spectrum of a viewpoint in life. And out of loving and believing in myself and nurturing myself, I view high vibe Leo as giving yourself the things and playing that role in your life to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. So when other people do act, or you're tempted to get up in your head or whatever, that you're able to temper yourself and maintain balance within yourself, and accept that some of the people you would like to be in friendships and relationships, just like people want to be in friendships and relationships with you, and you're like, I'm good. I'm fine. I think we're at a good place, and you don't want to move forward more in things. Other people that you could think, well, gee, I think I'd like to get to know them better, and they're like, no, I'm good. I think we're good. And we just temper our ego about all those things to accept the truth that everybody is where they're at, and not get up in our head about it. And it could help us close out a cycle. And maybe we had to meet a whole bunch of different people and go through a lot of different life experiences to learn, kind of to forced us to do this work within ourselves, to work through our own issues, so we were more balanced within ourselves and more aligned with and balanced within ourselves, to let our more loving, hopeful, believing nature be in the driver's seat of our life, and have to make all those things could have made us deal with all these different things that we maybe hadn't dealt with. And it helped us work through all those things to come to reconcile ourselves with all those things. So we're at a place of peace. And then in High Vibe Gemini, we're ready to close out an old cycle. And in High Vibe Leo, have this new beginning. And we learned all the lessons we were meant to learn from all these different phases of life that we've went through. And it could have been, because I think fire sign energy is the last one of ourself that we have to get on board. In our heart, we could want change. In our mind, we could want change. In our 3D world and worldly nature, we could want change. But until our fire sign energy agrees, and not being more all these things that used to motivate and inspire us that we made our life about, until our fire sign energy is kind of on board with that, that's when in our fire sign energy we look at life from a different perspective, really. Because what we're motivated and inspired by and what drives and motivates us is different than what could have driven and motivated us for maybe the first 30, 40 years of our life. And you have let go of an old way of viewing life. I have no interest in repeating those patterns and those type of relationship dynamics. Do I still have to deal with people who are like that? Yeah, and I don't get in a more involved relationship with them. Are they an acquaintance? Are they a coworker? Yes, and I don't get up in my head about it. I just see the truth that they might act in these ways that are kind of immature, or get all caught up in their head, or be competitive, or be harsh and critical or nasty, all these things to, you're either working together with people because you're inspired to, because that's the type of person you are in truth and love and justice and fairness, or that's not the truth of who you are. And I accept the truth that that's not where you're at. And I'm not going to be up in my head about it. And I'm going to keep focusing my attention on maintaining balance within myself, loving myself, and working with the people in my life who do work together with me in that way. And the people who do try to manipulate and control people or intimidate people or want people to indulge them, yeah, it really can really stress them out, because they're not able to do that. Like, well, you're not playing the game. You're not up in your head about this and this and this and willing to try to indulge me because you want some of these things of the world. It's like, I already tried to make things like that work with people who are like that. And it doesn't work, because their truth isn't to work together with me in an authentic, just and fair and loving way. So it's not going to work out the way I want anyway. It might work out for you because you'd have someone who's more trying to work together with you in a more loving and encouraging way, but that's not who you are. So I'm never going to be in a relationship with people who treat me the way I treat them. So now, having learned these lessons, I'm not going to invest my time and energy and effort into people who show me that isn't their truth. I'm going to wish you peace. Can I work together with you and get along with you and, be a loving and encouraging person to people? Because, yeah, we need more to encourage people to work through some of their bullshit. But I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And I stand up for my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And in my worldly, egoic way of being, can I be a loving and encouraging person to people? Yeah. But I'm not going to invest more into moving forward with them. Can I be a loving and encouraging person to people? Yeah. But am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. It is what it is. You have your viewpoint and ways of being and acting and behaving, and I have mine, and I can work together with you as I need to, but I'm not going to get in a more kind of deep, meaningful relationship with people because I know my nature and I know your nature. And for some of the people who wanted to do that or be in a relationship with you, but they wanted to still be in this shadowy energy, it's like, no, I'm not interested. And then some of those people are stressed out that you've been illuminated to the truth and you've reconciled yourself with the past and you're moving forward in this new way. And probably in high vibe Leo energy shining brightly in the world. Being authentic, being loving, being encouraging and supportive to people, but not going to get maybe in a relationship just to be in a relationship. I want to be free if I'm single to get in a relationship if someone who, as I'm going on this journey, I meet other people who are more like me. And other people, though, because they have more of these fears or insecurities, could kind of get in some relationships that maybe they shouldn't have gotten into. And now some of those people are stressed because they're, if you keep getting in a relationship to get in a relationship because you want these certain things, and that's what kind of drives and motivates you, but you're not listening to your intuition, maybe about who you get in a relationship with, or you just want to be in a relationship. And some people get in a relationship with someone who just wants to indulge himself in a relationship. And then they think, oh no, but they'd be motivated and inspired by love. Isn't everybody motivated and inspired by love? No. And maybe until you get to know them better, and sometimes you got to go through it, It's because some people wear very good false masks. Some people seem like very stable, grounded, authentic, loving, character and integrity type people, and it isn't until you really kind of go on through the whole journey with them that you finally get down to the nuts and bolts. But of course, I suppose now that people have learned that, they can get in relationships with people and ask them, do you have hope and faith and belief in love, or are you kind of more defensive to love and being more authentically yourself? And I guess you could listen to what they have to say, and sometimes you can tell by what people say that they're, much more defensive to being more authentic in the world. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Leo energy? And some of you, I guess I'm kind of looking at the career change as Virgo and Sagittarius energy. You could have gotten a new job for some of you, but also kind of what you're putting work and effort into and being inspired by is different than what you used to put work and effort into and be inspired by. Your motivation of what you want to put work and effort into is different than what it used to be. What's coming up for the high vibe people they don't see coming? The Seven of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, and the Death card. And the reason is because of the Ten of Cups. So, because you're offering love to the situation and connecting in with your emotions and your intuition, the Seven of Wands is Leo energy. You had to offer love to your own defensive nature, which is what the Seven of Wands can be about. But I wanted this to work, and I thought this would be victorious and successful. Well, we see it's not. So then with some of those friendships, relationships, or jobs, we offer love to it. So in the Two of Pentacles, we can kind of come to a place of peace and balance again about it. That everybody has to be willing to work cooperatively in truth and love. It can't just be their way. It can't just be my way. And when we see that some people are still defensive to that, we offer love to the situation, to accept the truth, and we are willing to pick up our investment in it. So then the Two of Pentacles can be, I have picked up my investment in something I had been invested in. Now I'm maintaining my balance as I move forward, detaching from some things and people in my life and ways of living life or indulging myself or something that I thought was going to move forward. And the Death card can be where we detach from an old way of living life to kind of give birth to a new way of living life. And they weren't willing to do that. And I can't keep staying hoping one day other people can change or will change. The only person I can change is me. And if they keep showing me they're defensive to change, then the only person I can change is me. And it's transforming your whole life. And Scorpio, this is Scorpio water sign energy. This is Pisces water sign energy. Scorpio energy is fixed sign energy. We had things we wanted to have work out. We didn't want to have to move on from them. But it's our Pisces nature that helps us emotionally transition out of letting go of something that, because it's not growing, it's not healing, it's not maturing, it's stagnant and dead. And so we realize, you can be as loving and encouraging as you want to people, but unless they're inspired to heal or grow or mature themselves, it keeps not growing, not changing. So we detach from those people, close out an old cycle to give birth to something new. To go find people who take the lesson we learned from this so we don't get hopefully caught up in that kind of scenario again. More willing to stand up for ourselves, or maybe before are more wanting to be in a relationship or a loving, nurturing nature. Kind of just not standing up for ourselves and learning we needed to stand up for ourselves. And not, again, we can be loving and encouraging people in people's lives, but we have to learn to stand up for our more loving nature, because there's other people, if you're kind of tipped out of balance where, I'm really loving and encouraging and supportive and I want everyone to heal and everybody to grow and everybody to work through their fears and insecurities and everybody's motivated by love, aren't you? That there's a lot of people who aren't, that would come flocking and running to be in a relationship with you to kind of abuse and manipulate your more loving nature, and not act with character and integrity, and not treat you the way you treat them. But wanting to flock to be in relationships with people who are loving and nurturing, because they maybe haven't learned to be loving and nurturing to themselves, or just want to indulge themselves in a relationship with someone like that. And it's like, no, I've learned to stand up for myself. And if people aren't just and fair and balanced and seem more balanced within themselves and emotionally more independent of their more egoic defensive nature and other people in their life and the world to live their life more independently, then I'm moving on from them. And I'm going to go have this new beginning. I don't want to repeat this old pattern. And so while you move forward, some other people who maybe thought, they won't love and believe in themselves, I'm sure they'll come back. I'm sure they wanted these things. They love me. They won't move on. Now those people are seeing, shit, they're moving on. They worked through their fears and insecurities. They're moving on. Shit, I had an opportunity to work together with them in a just and fair and authentic and loving way, and I chose to align with my more immature, maybe manipulative, egoic, stubborn nature, because that's worked in the past with people, and I thought it would work with them, and it didn't. And some people in the world will realize I better get on the ball and work through my own issues if I want to move forward with them. And other people will be like, shit, now I gotta go find someone else to manipulate. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy that they might not see coming? A card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Five of Pentacles. Well, I kind of mentioned this card kind of reminds me of Libra and Taurus. The Five of Pentacles is Taurus energy. It has to do with our philosophy of life. And some people are more immature. Some people are more codependent. Some people don't want to be just and fair. Some people are more about themselves. Some people don't want their more hopeful, believing, loving nature to come out to play in the world. And some people try to intimidate and control and manipulate people. And if right now they could be trying to move a relationship forward, but they might not be willing to bring justice to the situation. Kind of like, I want to be in it, but I want to be kind of more immature and indulgent. I don't really want to... If I do want to move the relationship forward, it's more for the ego or the image or the status or how it benefits me. But I don't want to heal or grow or mature myself. And it's kind of like being aligned with their more worldly nature instead of connecting in more with their hopeful, believing, creative, inspired, loving nature. And that can be their truth, and that's how they want to move forward. And because of that, there could be some people who are going to leave their life. The shadow. Well, other people could have had their own shadowy nature that could have, again, we have these things in our shadowy nature, our fear, our insecurity, our codependency, wanting other people to love us because we haven't learned to love ourselves, and we move forward with people like that. And we could have done that because to some degree, our shadow things can be different, but we still could be operating more out of, instead of wanting to deal with the truth, wanting to stay in denial of the truth, that can be shadow. Because I want these things of the world, the shadow, the devil can represent these things of the world. I kind of stay in denial of the truth of some things. And some other people have done this work within themselves, and they're no longer in their shadow energy. And then the Five of Pentacles in Taurus energy can be that people were holding on to an old way of living life in the Four of Pentacles, but they kind of worked through some of these issues during the course of some situation. And they freed themselves from some of the things that manipulated them. And now they're ready to move forward. And if some of these people are still unwilling to do that, like acknowledge, like reject, I am not going to deal with my fear, my insecurity, my immaturity, how I manipulated, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to keep moving forward, not dealing with it. Some other people in their life see how it manipulates them and how they act and how they conduct themselves in a relationship. And other people didn't like it, so they did the work within themselves to work through their own shadow nature to free themselves from it, and they're moving forward because they're no longer at a degree, we can never get rid of our shadow nature, but it's like they worked through a layer of their own shadow nature, and they're moving forward in life differently. And then there could be this arguing and this fighting and the going back and forth and some people trying to make people keep doing things like this, and the other people are like, no, I don't want to keep doing things like that. Why do you want to keep doing things like that? Why can't we move forward in life differently? What is it that who or what are you codependent on? Is it more about you? Is it more about indulgence? Well, I might want to be in relationships with people who don't want to just indulge, or where nothing grows. And if that's not you, then I'm going to go move on. And then some people might feel left out in the cold. But if they keep not wanting to deal with what it is that manipulates them, they're going to go repeat this pattern again, just looking for someone else who, to whatever their issue is, that they can find someone who will indulge them in that or has that same viewpoint. But some of the people, and the devil can be people that people were attracted to, aren't willing to keep staying in a relationship with them. And for some, if it was an employer had been loving and encouraging to some people, eventually they've kind of worked through everything that it's like nothing ever changes here. And seems like we kind of have to keep indulging you, but nothing ever changes. And eventually the employer is like, I'm leaving and we're letting you go and you got to go find a new job, right? And if those people don't want to see the truth of some of their ways of being, they'll go try to find just like people will go try to find a new friend, a new romantic relationship, a new job, where they can find people who kind of maybe more willing to indulge them in some ways of being. But some of the people that they wanted to have indulge them aren't indulging them. And then what they don't see coming is eventually they probably will end up in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. And if they're kind of more immature, they could maybe like to be in relationships with people who are more stable and grounded and less immature. But that's kind of unjust, right? So no, if they're more immature, you might get someone who's more immature. If you're more codependent on your friends and family and not willing to become more independent of them to live your more authentic life, and they can kind of manipulate and control you, and you let them, well, they might get in a relationship with someone whose friends and family they're very kind of more codependent on and not willing to become independent of them. Well, then that's just unfair. They will battle and fight about that. But it's like, well, you seem to be really codependent on these people, and I'm kind of codependent on these people. Of course, I won't use those words. Some people, if they're more about the ego and the image and the money and status, if they can find someone who's willing to stay in a relationship with them for those reasons, hiding in the devil that they are more about ego and image and money and materialism, well, then they'll have somebody who's willing to indulge them in a relationship for those reasons. But then neither one of them could be people who are more aligned with their hopeful, believing, loving nature. But that's just and fair, because if they aren't, those are the seeds they plant. They should be in relationship with other people who plant those same type of seeds. And maybe, they might even have to hide that it's kind of a more materialistic or toxic relationship. But if either that they don't move forward with people in relationships because they are codependent on these other people that they don't want people to know, manipulate, and control them, or they get in relationships with people and they don't want people to know and they try to hide their shadow nature, and could even move forward in a relationship just to make it look like they've healed and grown and matured and changed, but their shadowy nature will show itself eventually to the people there in their life, and eventually at some point in time probably those people will leave. And the people who might stay are the people who are willing to stay in it like them, more for the status or the ego or the image, or that they mutually like to indulge in these certain things that they think will make them happy. But it might be more abundant in these things of the world than love and deep, meaningful relationships. Maybe more superficial and shallow relationships, but look how many people we know and look what we're doing. And to them, if that's what's important to them and they feel it gives them a certain status or image in the world, and that's kind of what drives and motivates them, they might have it. They just might be really manipulated by it and imprisoned by it, and some of them might not even want to be in it. But because that is so important to them, they keep moving forward in things where they could feel left out in the cold. That's kind of what the devil does. It takes away all the things that were more aligned with your hopeful, believing, loving nature. And you might have these things or these people in your life because you weren't willing to love and believe in yourself to be more independent. And so then you can move forward with things and people in your life, and it never is the answer, but they keep thinking that's the answer because they're unwilling. They have some philosophy of life, family patterns under that, feeling maybe overwhelmed because they're unwilling to deal with some core truth within them that stops them from reconciling with whatever these issues are that manipulate them. And they're going to see other people move forward, and they're going to keep repeating an old pattern, and they'll keep repeating that old pattern until they're willing to deal with the truth if it ever gets too overwhelming for them. But until it becomes, a lot of times we won't deal with those issues until it does become really overwhelming. And what is overwhelming for some people was a lot less, and those people left. And for other people, it's like, no, I'm going to keep staying. Nope, I don't want to go get a different job. Nope, I don't want to try to go find a different friend or get in a different relationship or love and believe in myself. I'll just keep doing this. And some people can be overwhelmed and burdened and feeling in lack mentality and harsh and critical to themselves, let other people be harsh and critical to them all their life. We can either belittle and berate ourselves and diminish ourselves and be in relationships with people who are happy we do and they join in the chorus, or we say, no, I choose love and to free myself. And if people don't want to work together with me in that way, then they can go find someone else to hang out with. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.